This week's episode of The Grid is sponsored by Impix. Shoot today, upload tonight, we ship tomorrow. On One Software, focused on photography. Peach Pit Press, publishers of technology books, ebooks, and videos for creative people. Epson, exceed your vision. Expo Imaging, rogue flash vendors for speedlight enthusiasts. Intel, the power you need for hardcore creatives. Squarespace, everything you need to create an exceptional photography website. And B&H Photo, the professional source.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another live episode of The Grid. My name is Scott Kilby, and joining me, as always, a man whose beauty is brighter than 1,000 burning suns, Mr. Matt Klaskowski.
Welcome back, everybody.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
Okay, well, hey.
Well, I mean, how do I follow that up?
There's no way to follow it up.
There's not.
There's no way.
Just absorb it in.
Hey, we're really glad you're here. Hey, while you are here, if you are on social media, if you would send out a real quick little tweet or a post on Facebook or a little post on G+, and just say, hey, I'm watching The Grid. Come and watch it. It's a wild day today on The Grid.
Wild.
So we would be very much appreciated to help us share, spread the word. A couple of things. First, tonight I want to invite you all to a free photography talk called A Walk in Rome, and it's based on my photo walk in Rome. I was in Rome for a week, and I got to shoot there for 5 days, and we're going to talk about the photography, the gear. I've got a review of the Tamron 28 to 300 lens that a lot of people have been asking about. Matt's going to be on the show with me, and we're going to go, oh, there's the little thing right there.
There you
go. And so we're going to be talking about all that tonight. And I got some Photoshop tips, some photography tips, just a whole bunch of things, some fun stuff, some giveaways.
It'll be good. We were talking about it at lunch, and there's a lot of neat little tips and tricks inside.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's completely free. It's tonight at 7 p.m., so 3 hours from now. And I hope you will join us for A Walk in Rome. Hey.
With love.
With love. You have any more seminars?
We got seminars coming up. So if you go over to, kelbytraining.com/live, you can see all the dates there. But yeah, I'll be got Seattle, Sacramento, Fort Lauderdale, Jacksonville. You're going into, well, you got Washington,
next week.
D.C. next week, right?
I'm in D.C. next week. Come and spend the day with me. We've already got about 600 photographers on board, and so don't miss out. Don't be the one photographer in D.C. that didn't go. So go and join. And also, then I'm in Boston the following week on the 29th. So next Friday, I think it is.
The
I'm
whole
in DC.
Northeast up there.
I'm doing a whole Northeast thing. So
and you're putting Photo Plus like right in the middle of that too.
Yeah,
right?
I'll be at Photo Plus as well. So anyway, just want to invite you to that. We have some free classes that we're broadcasting right now. Matt's got a free class.
I thought I did.
Did it end?
Yeah, it ended today.
It's gone already?
Yeah, I thought it went through today.
All right, so what's next?
But it's still a great class.
Oh,
by
there it is.
Mr. David Zeiser. Wedding photography, classical lighting, and posing. So
yeah, every week we broadcast a new free class, and so you missed Matt's Lightroom Basics class, which people love, but a new one started today. So cool. I thought it ran through today. Hey, lastly, before we take a break here and get into our topics, because we have two different topics today, I did a blog post yesterday called, it was about how many keepers I get from a shoot. Mm-hmm. I posted my shots from the Eagles-Bucks game, had a lot of people asking, so how many keepers? I gave the exact numbers and ratios and reasons and all that kind of stuff. So if you get a chance, go by my blog, scottkelby.com. It's been a very, very popular post, and just go check it out.
I think it's eye-opening too, because people don't realize like how many photos you have to take at a game.
Yeah. Hey, I want to read you a comment. Actually, a guy wrote on Twitter here, and that is a social media network for those of you who are. Yeah.
I've not heard of this.
He wrote, where was it? It was really good. He said something. Oh God, there's so many tweets here. Anyway, I can't find it right now. But what he said was, he said this post and watching my Crush the Composition class were like two things that every new photographer needs to do. So anyway, it was nice. I was going to read it verbatim, but I can't give him credit because it's somewhere lost in this mess. Hey, giveaways. We have a lot of giveaways today. We're going to give away a full year of Kelby online training, an entire year. We've got some good books for you today.
We got the It's a Jesus thing.
Yeah, look at that. I don't know if you read. I wrote a book about Jesus. Something, what? But I did. If you go to YouTube, you can watch the little video or go to my blog and search for Jesus. It'll come up. But not your average book for me.
And with a very similar cover, but a different name.
Yeah.
the digital photography book. So this
is volume 2.
Yeah.
I did a refresh of it. So it's it's not an all new book, but I refreshed it, went back and added a new chapter and updated everything because the last one was written in 2007. So that's a refresh.
Cool.
Look at this bad boy.
And then
Look how thick that sucker is.
Photoshop Creative Cloud, the missing manual. This one's by Lisa Snyder. So,
yeah, great book, terrific book.
And then finally we have
Two more things.
Design Aglow Posing Guide. Design Aglow?
Yeah, Aglow, not Aglow.
I said design. It's late. Design Aglow Posing Guide for Family Portrait Photography.
Yeah, and the stump.
And a stump.
It's an iPad holder, a really cool little iPad holder. So we'll be giving one of those away, giving away all that stuff. And at the end of the show, you'll be.
This is a Kelby training stump.
It's got a little Kelby training logo
Look at
on it.
that.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Wow.
Yeah, it's a stump. It holds your. Hey, can you zoom in on it? You can see. It holds the how it holds your iPad. Here, let me just tilt it a little bit. There, wait, right there. See how it holds your iPad? Different ways. It's a stump. It's for the coffee house. It's for the kitchen counter. It can be used as a weapon. It's very heavy. Anyway, so that's coming up. And at the end of the show, you'll be able to tell us, hey, which one of those ones that you want to win, you can put in there. Hey, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the plagiarism scandal that has been rocking the photo industry this week. I'll talk about what the scandal is because some people, we ran a poll and some people didn't even know what the scandal was. And then, secondly, then we're going to talk about how not to hate HDR all in one show. So stick around. We'll be right back here live on the grid. There it is.
The gear isn't your trophy. It's the photographs you take. Hey, I'm Zach Arias. Follow me for 2 days as I shoot street portraits. And then I sit down with a Pulitzer Prize-winning photo editor to talk about photography. So check out my class, the $5,000 Challenge, at kelbytraining.com.
Hey, we are back. Scott Kelby here with Matt Kloskowski.
Hola.
And first, I want to let you know that this portion of the grid is sponsored by our friends at MPix, MPIX.com. They're an online photo lab. They're an online photo lab we all use, and they're really wonderful. If you upload a file to them, they print it and deliver it to you. As long as you get to them by 11 a.m., you have it the next day. And they do big prints, they do metallic prints, they do whatever. They do all kinds of stuff. They're really great. If you haven't used them before, go check them out at mpix.com. We love them.
Yeah, we probably, I don't know if it was probably 3 weeks ago, RC and I did a live print show. And the day before at like 11 a.m., we decided, hey, we should order something from MPix. So we actually did like a live unboxing and everything like that. So it was pretty cool.
Oh, well, excellent.
So you can go back and watch it.
All right, so let's talk about the scandal. Now this scandal has been unfolding for a while, but it all kind of came to a boiling point this week when the scandal kind of wound up on some of my favorite websites, actually. Petapixel, which is a wonderful website, petapixel.com, had a big story on it. Then F-Stoppers had a story on it, and then it started popping up everywhere. And it goes back quite a ways. And it really involves three people in general, this particular scandal, at different points in time. They are Doug Gordon, J.B. Sally, and Jasmine Starr.
Yeah.
Now, I was hoping not to have to uncork the whole thing again, but I'm going to give you just a real short thing. And what they did in short was they borrowed blog material from other people and didn't credit them. So they put stuff on their blog and it said, they made it sound like it was from them, but they didn't credit where they really got it. They took it from other sources.
Yeah.
And some more blatant than others, but they all kind of got their hands caught in the cookie jar. And so there's a website called photostealers.com that basically pointed out some of these. And they would show, like, here's their blog post, and then they would have in yellow, and then here's where it came from, somebody else's website. And, like, for example, in Jasmine Starr's situation, she, like, took a paragraph here, part of a paragraph there, a sentence there, and it was word for word. I mean, you looked at it and you're like, oh, ouch.
Yeah.
So that was one part of it. Now Jasmine's thing started actually earlier, where she had copied and pasted some tweets as her own, I guess. This is all alleged, but she did come out and apologize for it. So I guess when she said, yeah, I'm sorry, it's not alleged anymore. But anyway, she had taken some other tweets, because her tweets are so good. But she grabbed a couple from someplace else and didn't attribute where they came from. But then there was the blog thing. So
it's a world coming to when you have to attribute a tweet.
I know, but I don't know. But so, Alan Hess just wrote, borrowed, that's called stealing. Okay, right. And and that's good that Alan said that, because I'm reading some of the comments as they're coming in. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm here today to excuse what they did. And I don't want to try to convince anybody what they did is okay, because it's not. I mean, it's whether you're stealing I think stealing a photo is worse though, right? Yeah. Yeah, I would think stealing a photo.
But I
guess it depends on whether you're an author or a photographer, whether you think it's worse or not.
But also part of it is no one's arguing whether it's okay or not. Like, I think everybody,
we all go,
everyone across the board agrees it wasn't okay.
Right.
Even Jasmine agreed it wasn't okay. So that's not really the argument doesn't come down to whether it was okay or not.
Right. It's exactly. But what I want to talk about is I want to kind of. Oh man, somebody just wrote something here. I want to put what they did into context. But before I do that, I want to read Scott King's note. Scott King says, the easiest way to avoid plagiarism when blogging, guest blog Wednesday. Instead of borrowing a post, just get people to write them for you. So you know how
what happens if they borrow it from somebody else?
You know how a guest blog Wednesday came? I honestly, Jasmine writes about this, and we'll talk about it in a moment. But writing a blog every day it's very, very hard. There are times where Matt will tell you, because he does the same thing, it's a lot of fun, and there's a time where you completely forget about it, and then it's 11:30 at night, and you're ready to go to bed. You're like, crap. I didn't do my blog, and you're just exhausted, and there's times where you hate it. And so I got to a point where I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm giving up. I'm going to take 1 day a week off. And I happened to be sitting next to Vincent Versace. We were teaching at a conference, and Vincent goes, I challenge you instead to let somebody else write the blog on Wednesday. And that was the happiest day of my life. And it's been very good for Brad Moore, because Brad Moore, who actually kind of corrals that and puts it all together and stuff, has made tremendous connections and has friends all over the place.
Yeah.
All right. So Michael says, content theft is content theft. Doesn't matter if it's a photo or a blog. I think we're all agreed on that, right?
Yeah, nobody's arguing it.
Hey, these are so funny. All right. But here's what I want to talk about today is, we all agree that what they did was wrong. But their colleagues are publicly annihilating them over them. Some of the things that I've seen in the last couple of days, especially about Jasmine, and I think it's because Jasmine did something that was really, really tough. She went on Fstoppers, which is another one of my favorite blogs. Mm-hmm. She went to fstoppers.com, tremendous blog, and her feature story there was her apology. It was 90% apology, 10% addressing some other things that were, kind of been attributed to her that maybe weren't. But I felt bad for her. I felt awful for her. And I know she did it. She had it coming. But trust me, when you get your feature story on the front of Fstoppers, you don't want it to be an apology of how you got caught plagiarizing. I read the whole thing and I just felt so bad for her. She's written 1,700 blog posts. And out of those 1,700, 4 were parts or some were taken from other blogs. And so she's given a tremendous amount to the community. And at some point, she literally took a shortcut. She copied and pasted lines from another one. I'm not saying it's right. Believe me, I'm a writer. Believe me, I know. And I've been ripped off so many times I can't tell you. I've been ripped off where people have stolen the layouts of my books, the covers of my book. I'm not joking. I had an author take my book in a foreign country, remove all references to me, and put their name on the cover and sell it as if they wrote it. On the author page is their picture and their thank yous. It's my family's pictures. I see pictures of my kids in there. And so I believe me, I get it. But she wrote 1,500 blog posts. 1,496 were her own words. And she did. And I'm not trying to make it, but what's happened to her in particular, I think, is the photography community is now trying to just smear her into the dirt. And that's what I think is wrong. What she did is wrong, but I think what's happening to her, that people are writing huge, big posts and stuff. And it got so bad that they started a group of people started an online petition because Jasmine and Doug, I'm not sure about JB, they started an online petition to make sure that they're not allowed to speak at the WPPI conference, which is the big conference for wedding photographers. And if you're not familiar with Jasmine's work, by the way, Jasmine is she's a terrific wedding photographer. She's become very famous by doing workshops and DVDs and stuff. And it's because she kind of came out of nowhere and just had a knack for photography, then had a knack for growing her photography business, and became a very successful wedding photographer. And then she started doing the marketing and
had a knack for teaching and connecting with
she's got a
people.
knack for all of it. She's very, very talented. But what I'm seeing in these things is like, they're like attacks on her. I mean, like horrible attacks where they're just going at her.
Yeah,
and
your photography was never any good.
yeah, they're saying her photography. People are, and here's where you really want to see it. It's not just the blog posts. It's the responses. Because what is it that we've come to this point where we all have to be so outraged, right? I mean, there are things in this world to be really, really outraged about. If you turn on the TV every night, there are things to be outraged about. Jasmine stealing a couple of sentences from one of those things isn't on that list, but they are going out like she did some horrible criminal act. I mean, they're acting like, because there are things where you could read somebody and you'd say, I'll never have anything to do with them again. Yeah. That was just awful. But I want us to put it, same thing with Doug, same thing with JB. They didn't do the worst thing awful. Doug Gordon, so they started this online petition, and WPPI, they both kind of backed out. I think they're not going to be at WPPI. But so really, who have we hurt, right? Because Jasmine's reputation, unfortunately, is already pretty much sullied. I imagine if you're at a conference a year from now and you see Jasmine get on stage, there'll be people leaning over going, that's the girl that stole the, I mean, you have that. Imagine what it's like being Jasmine today, waking up in the morning and you're reading this stuff and you're having to write this huge apology, a public apology saying, I did these things. So I think there's so much focus on burying her, on burying Doug Gordon. I saw Doug at WPPI. I'd never met him before. And I sat through his session at WPPI. I knew who he was. I knew his name, but never met him, never seen one of his sessions. It was absolutely fantastic. I mean, I remember coming back to you and going, dude, I saw Doug. That guy's really good. And then I also... I saw Doug, and then what was it? Oh, and then I saw he's got videos on YouTube and stuff. The guy does a tremendous amount of training, and JB Sally, I met him last year. I was a guest speaker at one of his events, and that was the first time I ever met him. But
and Jasmine, I mean, she's inspired thousands upon thousands, probably tens of thousands.
Oh yeah, she has.
Of photographers out there. So now, I think where you're going with this is next year.
Yeah. So next year, now, so when I go to WPPI this coming year, I won't get to see Jasmine. I don't get to see Doug. I don't get to learn from them because 632 people who signed this petition and got WPPI to knock her out basically said, you don't get to see her. Now, it's different if I'm walking around the show floor and I see Jasmine Starr at 4 o'clock and I go, I'm not going to go see her because of what she did. I wouldn't do that. But I'm just saying, somebody might say, I don't want to learn from her because she's sullied in my eyes. But somebody else made that for us. And I understand WPPI is trying to do the right thing. But I think what's happened is, why is WPPI considering getting rid of them? Because they've been so publicly attacked. Not so much for what they did, which is wrong, but the public reaction to it is so bad. And so here, I want you to consider something else. Instead of attacking her publicly, there's something else we should do. Forgive her. Look, she totally messed up. Her reputation's take a beating. Her sales will suffer. Her family's income will suffer. She's already lost the most important public speaking gig she's probably got, which is the WPPI thing. This will affect her for many years, and will be a part of her life story forever. If you go to Google and you type in, well, at least on my Google, and I type in Jasmine Starr, the fourth thing that appears, you know how it starts to autocorrect, like what you might be searching for, is Jasmine Starr plagiarism. Is the fourth. Is that what you want when you type in your name? But here's the good thing that came out of it. One really good thing came out of all this. There's a watchdog now. All eyes are on this topic. Photostealers.com. It is photostealers.com, right?
Type it in.
I'm pretty sure it is. But they're the new watchdog for this, right? They're the ones watching this. And I thought you can't believe the amount of research they did. Oop, that's Photostealer. I think it's Steelers like that. That's not it.
Darn it.
Hold on, I'll find it.
Here.
StopStealingPhotos.com? No, Photo Stealers. Oh, they call it Photo Stealers, but it's StopStealingPhotos.tumblr.com. But if you just go to Google and type in Photo Stealers, you'll find it. So they have whoever's running this, they've done an amazing job. Now, mostly what they do is find a photographer. And this, I can't believe how often this happens. You have a photographer here in like Cincinnati or Baltimore or something. They'll go to some website in Germany, steal some amazing photos, and put them up as their own, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, so this photo stealers, they track them down, and they do a really, really good job of breaking it down. Here's their blog. Here's where they got it. Here's their blog. Look, these are from Getty. I mean, they're taken from online places and online. They did a wonderful job. And Jasmine's story's on here, and so is Doug Gordon's and JB Sally's and all. They're all on here. And so I think the bigger point is there is now a watchdog group. The good thing that came out of this is there's a watchdog group, and I think that the chance of anybody doing this, Matt, you going to be taking anything for your Lightroom Killer Tips blog?
No, probably.
No, you're going to make darn sure, right? Because now there's this watchdog, and my hat's off to them for doing the research and the stuff that they've done. And what they're doing is important, but it doesn't have to be now. The gates are open to attack Jasmine. Oh, and I feel so bad when I read some of the comments and stuff, because they're talking about, oh, she's not a very good photographer. Whoever wrote that
isn't a very good photographer.
Let me tell you what, they're better than you.
Yeah.
I mean, she is really very good. Doug is very, very good. JB, they're all talented, and they've all dedicated their life to helping and training. And
they'd never made it to where they are if they weren't good.
Right, they never would. Yeah, you're right. Jasmine never would have had this massive worldwide audience. Pardon me, if she wasn't a good wedding photographer. She's a very good wedding photographer.
And a good business person.
And a very good, and you know what else too? I love it when people say, oh, she's a marketing genius. And this is a bad thing. Genius, unless it's the word evil genius. Genius is usually a very, very big compliment. The fact that she's very, very good at marketing her stuff, that's one thing. Jock writes in and says, Jasmine is attractive. Does anyone think that nice-looking people get more breaks than us ordinary folks? Well, I know Jock.
Probably.
I know Jock, really nice guy, but yeah, Jasmine is more attractive than you, Jock. So if the two of you were in a beauty contest, you probably wouldn't win. But no, but you know what? Not everybody can look like me. Some people have to look like Matt, and I'm sorry, but it's just the way life is. No, but I know what Jock's saying is she's attractive, and they go, oh, well, you know.
Well,
but you know what?
I don't want to be harsh by saying welcome to life.
But welcome to life.
I mean,
that's
it's you find, it's off topic, but I mean, dude, you'll find studies out there of CEOs, and they break down. They give them a percentage on how they look, how tall they are, and all these different things. And if you look, most CEOs are good looking, tall,
handsome.
Yeah, I mean, it's
pretty. Because you know what it is? People like pretty things regardless of what. They all just like pretty things. How do you think Brad got his job? So that's the deal. Yeah, I hear your comment, Jock, but that's not really what this is about. I think.
And what he's saying, do you think Jasmine's getting a break? What we're saying is Jasmine didn't get a break. I mean,
no.
there's many people that did. There's many people that did come and say, okay, guys, I understand. I don't like what you did, but she apologized, move on. But there's so many people that just used it as a way to just jump on a personal attack and take it to that next level. And nobody's better off because of that.
And every wedding photographer that was jealous of her success and what she's become and everything now has a thing to go, aha. And I just wanted to kind of, just for the first part of the show, I just wanted to put that in some context. We're not trying to say she was right. What I'm trying to say is this doesn't make you a better photographer. This doesn't move you up any further. You didn't take any better photography by wasting your time on attacking Doug and on attacking Jasmine and on attacking JB. They got their dues. Everybody knows these stories. They'll be on Google forever. Those screen captures on that site, even if that site goes down, will be on the internet forever, because once it's on the internet, it's on there forever. I think that alone is going to impact all of their incomes, the money they make for their families, their careers, their speaking opportunities have already been affected. There's plenty that's been done to them already. Let's move on. Let's do something to help you make better pictures, which is what we're going to talk about on our break. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, how not to hate HDR, and this I hope will help a lot of people. And we'll take a short break. Don't go away. We're right back here on The Grid.
Welcome everybody, RC here. Welcome to Exposing HDR here on Kelby Training. Now, the best place for you to do all of this stuff is going to be in this room.
He's back.
Go away! Let's go!
Hey, we're back. Scott Kelby here with Matt Kloskowski. Hey, real quickly, we were just watching that ad because we never know what ads they're going to run on the breaks.
No, we're just watching them as they happen.
But that was for the Westcott Skylux, and so yesterday we got to try them. I got a winery out in California wanted me to shoot their bottle. And they only sent me one bottle, by the way. I was hoping for 6, not because I wanted to drink them, but I could do more with you know. But so
I wouldn't mind having some.
yeah, well, we only have one. We only have one bottle. So it was Michael James, a winery out in California. Really great wine, really great people. So anyway, we're here in Tampa, Florida, and so Brad, my wonderful super assistant, my mega assistant, went and arranged with a local restaurant to let us go in the restaurant when they're closed. Right, so they're only open for dinner, but they had wine crates and stuff in there. So I thought if we got in there, we could get some shots. So I used the Skyluxes. I took 3 Skyluxes with me, and they worked wonderfully. Here's some of the shots from the shoot yesterday. So this is on location at the, and my wife Calibra went and she actually did all the styling because this is actually taken on a guacamole table. And so she got all the boxes, she got the cloth, she got the glass and the wine, and she set so all these scenes were set up by her. There's just 2 scenes, but they were set up in very unusual places like you wouldn't think. Oh, you got one. Oh, good, I want to show this. Okay, thanks. That's Brad so this is the Skylux here. And the reason I wanted to show this particular one was
hold it. You can.
Because
I'll demo.
Here's the other one. Here's the other shot, right? See how there's like a little hint of light right on the label? So we took one of these Skyluxes, and can you switch back to the studio here? And we basically just put gaffer's tape all over it. And that little tiny square was, you can't believe how much light that little tiny square lets through, but it was just enough to light the entire label. So we would turn off the 2 Skyluxes. I can even in a minute show you a behind the scenes shot. Turn off the Skyluxes and that would light the label. And you'll see some more here. Here's some studio stuff with it just real quickly. See how the label's lit? That's that little slit right there in the front of the thing. Right there. And then here's another version with the look of a spotlight in the background. But anyway, we just did those yesterday. But the first time using these, when you're lighting products and because these are continuous lights, they're not strobes, right? They're on all the time. My gosh, they were so.
It works great for that stuff.
We were loving it. And
awesome.
it's dimmable. It's dimmable in the back. So when we got to the label, you could dim it down and get these were wonderfully great. Just kind of impromptu there. So they're not even our sponsor for this segment. They're not even a sponsor for the show. Anyway, because this segment is brought to you by Squarespace. Tell them, Matt.
If you want a website, go to Squarespace. Honestly,
They're awesome.
You have a Squarespace site, I have a Squarespace site, and all I can tell you is that I still remember the day that I first got my Squarespace site because one of our guys, he said, "Hey, have you ever seen Squarespace?"
You always remember your first day on Squarespace.
I was like, I hadn't. I'll go try it out, and I went and tried it out. I had a website in 10 minutes. And from that point on, I was like, I signed up. I was sold.
Me too. I'm on. Hey, Westcott is a sponsor. Okay.
Even better.
Even better. Hey, here's the behind. Can we switch back to my computer real quick? Here's a behind the scenes shot. So this is us shooting. So the second shot, let me go back to my other thing. So here, this shot, which we didn't show, that's just a little subtle kind of thing. And this shot, were literally taken at the hostess stand. Because the hostess stand had that marble, the marble thing. So we moved the phone where the hostess takes the reservations and we stacked this stuff up behind it. And that's what you're seeing in this picture from Photoshop. Hold on. Here is, so there's one of those Skyluxes. There's a second Skylux, and then we're lighting the background a little bit, just throwing some of the open dish of some Skylux. And there's a strip bank and another strip bank, and you can see the behind the scenes shot there. This is me right there, and that's Lightroom, and that's, okay, anyway, so there's just a couple of shots. That has nothing to do with anything, because our topic really is why people hate HDR.
Well, how not to hate HDR.
Well, how not, but first we're gonna talk about, you're right, the topic is how not to hate it, but first we're gonna talk about why do people hate. There's a couple of reasons why people hate HDR. Number one.
It's cheating.
Yeah, they say, it's cheating. You take some crappy photo, you throw HDR in, and it becomes great.
Or even if you didn't take a crappy photo, even if you're taking a nice photo, but you're bracketing to merge it all into an HDR later on, they're
cheating.
Saying that's cheating because it's got to be one photo because that's the
very
way
old
it
school
always
way.
has been in time and past.
But I think the main reason why people hate
the days of
HDR
the order,
is,
as RC says.
there's a lot of bad HDR out there. And let me explain something about HDR, because you probably see HDR that you like all the time and don't realize it because it's not bad HDR. But a guy I knew hated Chinese food, just absolutely hated it. And here's why. Because when he was young, his mom would always take them to the same Chinese food restaurant. She would order for them. It was the same Chinese food. It was the same, I think it was like chop suey they got every time. And he grew up thinking that all Chinese food is bad. Just Chinese food is bad. Because that's all he ever saw was bad Chinene food. If what you mostly see is bad HDR, your impression is all HDR is bad. So, so that's what I think has happened to a lot of people. So what we wanted to do in this show was we want to educate people on what bad HDR is, so you'll know it before you send it in. Because here's what happens. We do a critique once a month, a blind critique, right? In our last episode, all these people sent in pics, and we brought some pics that people have submitted.
Yeah, these people submitted them.
Yeah,
we didn't just go randomly grab them off of the web.
So these are ones that people submitted. And what's happened is we want to show you these are the things that make bad HDR, because people keep sending these into us week after week. They're like, what do you think of this? What do you think? We're always going to say the same thing. And we really got it down to 7 things. If you can avoid these 7 things, you can still use HDR. They can still look great. Because you can have, you know who does beautiful HDR? Is RC.
RC?
RC does beautiful HDR because he does it right.
He gets it. He knows what makes a good one.
I'll tell you this about if RC has an amp that goes from 1 to 10 and that's the amount of HDR, all of his are 10. He goes all the way to 10, but it still looks good. It's okay to have the amp turned up to 10 if what's coming out of it sounds good. Mm-hmm. But it's terrible to have a really, really loud guitar amp if what's coming out of it sounds horrible. So RC's is full on. We'll look at some of RC's work in a few minutes, but his stuff is full on. But let's go ahead and start and go down the list. We have 7 things that don't send in anything for critique that has one of these 7 things bad, because it's guaranteed to make everyone angry, especially you when you hear our critique.
Unless we like the photo.
Unless we like the photo.
That's the disclaimer.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just like the photo.
Yeah, it's a great photo and bad HDR.
Because somebody said that on the last one, they had black clouds, and there was one with black clouds, and we liked it.
Yeah. No, it does happen.
Yep. I don't know. We liked it. So, all right. So the first one actually is black clouds.
All right. Let's see.
So here's a good blackish cloud example. So you could see it up there.
Yeah, it's a nice sunny day.
Yeah, I mean there's some
golden light,
some bright light on there.
Golden, beautiful light setting. And you know what else? Another thing that you see, it's not even one of our 7, but I can tell you what it is the buildings look dirty. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes you see HDR where it literally looks dirty, and that's one of them.
Almost all HDR has a dirt, grungy feel to it.
Right, but I'm talking about like it actually looks like the building looks dirty, and that's not a good thing. Hey, Danaloo1 just wrote in here, and I'm gonna always pronounce this right. Elia. I know it's not Elia because I just had dinner with him in Rome. It's Eli. I'm gonna go with Eli. Eli Liccardi, who runs the website blamethemonkey.com. He does beautiful HDR. In fact, he's become famous for his HDR. His stuff is really, really outstanding. He's another person if you want to look at HDR and go, wow, that guy's good. Yeah. Check it out. Okay.
Here's another blackish cloud photo.
Yeah.
To me, I don't like the other one worse. So it's not quite as bad, but you could start to see it gets all black around some of the cloud edges there.
Yeah.
So.
Also, if your clouds have a drop shadow, you know you've gone way too far. So black clouds, and these are not the worst examples. We've seen way worse than this with black clouds, but that's certainly one of them.
And these aren't black clouds, but they're just
bad clouds.
And so what I would say is, on an overcast day, HDR can actually help clouds. Mm-hmm. When you have a beautiful, colorful sky, HDR makes it worse. HDR adds texture, it adds darkness, it takes away the color in some places. It makes a beautiful sky look bad. It can take a not so great sky and make it look better, but it doesn't typically ever take a great looking sky and make it look bad. Like this looks like, I'd love to see this sunset without the HDR effect on it.
Yeah.
Because it actually looks like it was probably a pretty cool looking
And you know
sunset.
what? You can do that. Oh, there, RC. RC's watching. Where's RC? He's like in Germany or something?
Yeah.
Elia. That's it, Elia.
Not what I said.
I'm sorry, Elia. Yeah, Elia. That's it, Elia. That's it, Elia. Thanks, RC. Dang, RC. RC, why aren't you here?
Because he's in Germany.
I need you, RC.
We're gonna see We're gonna see a photo he took. Actually, he posted one on his blog.
All right, so that's
so
black clouds. Bad.
All right, what's next?
White glows.
White glows.
This is one of the killer. This is one of the telltale signs of bad HDR. If you look at your HDR photo and you see a white glow around things, see all the way around the truck. Look at that glow. That just says bad HDR. So Matt, what do you do to fix that? So you're in Photo Mechanic or you're in whatever you Photoshop or whatever, and you see white glows. What do you do to get rid of it?
You'd put your original one on a layer with
above it, perfectly aligned,
and then you can use your eraser tool. You can use layer masking, whatever,
paint it back in.
and you paint the good one back in.
Right.
That's it. You paint the good sky back in. You paint the good
I would paint the
foreground.
entire sky back in here because you know what it is? Look at the shot. It doesn't look really too bad on the truck.
This stuff actually looks cool because it's supposed to have that dirty, grungy look to it.
The sky shouldn't have a dirty, grungy look to it. If you put a natural sky in there, this photo gets 50% better. All right. What's another thing, Matt, that's really bad?
Oversaturated colors.
Oversaturated colors. I think this is one that gets a lot of people.
This is actually a good one for it too.
Oversaturated.
It's just there's a saturation slider in just about every single HDR program out there, and just because you can doesn't mean you should. You can crank it up as high as you want.
Don't move don't touch the vibrance. You know that I found on a lot of HDRs, I actually lower the vibrance a little bit because sometimes by nature it looks very, very affected.
Yeah, and I think in general it's like. We have that whether it's HDR or not, we have that saturation slider, and it's like you kind of feel like you have to do it. And you gave a perfect analogy for this.
Yeah.
So I'll let you say your analogy.
So here's what I think happens to a lot of people. So it's like hot sauce. So you never try Tabasco, right? Now there's someone when I said Tabasco and the word hot sauce, there are people in the forums laughing.
Yeah.
That's not hot sauce. Because what happens is Tabasco is where you start. It's kind of like, oh, Tabasco, I'll put this on there. Woo, that's hot, that's hot. Well, after you use Tabasco for about a week, you're like, that's not very hot. It's not hot at all. You'll even tell people, that's not hot, put it on your food. So then what'll happen is you move up to a hotter hot sauce. And that's great for a while, and then it's not as hot anymore. And you keep getting hotter and hotter sauce until you're buying stuff. I shared some pictures on Facebook of some. I went to a store, they had names like you cannot believe, you know. I think one was Ass on Fire. I'm not kidding.
Call 911.
Call 911. So, I mean, they were, but what happens is HDR is exactly the same way. You crank it up to 3, like the vibrance, like you're talking about. You crank up the saturation, and it looks colorful for a while. But after a while, you get used to seeing colorful images all the time. And you start cranking it up further and further and further to where now it looks colorful to you, but to everybody else, it's like
sunglasses.
Turn it down.
Yeah.
And I think that happens with HDR in general, is that you start cranking it up and it's not enough, and it's not enough, and you want more HDR and more HDR and more HDR until it's like fully pumped all the way up.
Years ago, we had one of our friends. I mean, this is probably going back 4 years ago. One of our friends, I don't want to say his name, but he used to blog a lot. And you and I were talking because one of us had said to him, we're like, dude, you need to cool it down on the HDR. And he goes, oh, dude, I barely added anything to that photo. And it's like, we look at it, and it's like, in fact, I think we were on like the same photo walk together, you know, and we're looking at it, we're like, that's not how it looks, you know, but he'd probably done it. So, and we knew this person did it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he was into HDR. So, and it's just, you become immune to just how much it really becomes.
Yeah. Hey, we've got a comment here from Monaco Javier. First, Monaco, are you coming to my DC seminar? Doesn't he live up in D.C. somewhere?
That's where I met him.
That's where I met him. I've known of him for quite a while. I mean, we've talked back and forth and stuff, but I actually met him I think it was at my DC seminar a couple of years ago. Anyway, Monaco, I hope you're coming to my DC seminar, unless you don't live anywhere near there. Monaco writes, the problem with too much saturation usually happens when you're fixated on getting the color right for one part of the image, and then you miss that you did it on other parts. A viewer will quickly pick up on the parts that are oversaturated and won't notice the parts that look right.
Yeah.
And that makes the entire image look overdone. Very, very insightful there.
Yeah.
Hey, it says he'll be there. So did he write that in the comments, Brad? All right, cool. So Monica, see you on Friday.
All right.
Next Friday,
Let's
not
see.
tomorrow's. Or after tomorrow.
S.A. Richard says, do you also call one exposure image's process to look like HDR to be HDR? Do you consider HDR multiple exposures? I know that I personally, to me, HDR high dynamic range, the process that's gone. HDR is a look.
Yeah,
I don't care how
look.
you did it.
Yeah.
I don't care if you did it with 1. I don't care if you did it with 15.
If it's a tonal contrast effect or whatever that you added later.
The term HDR has now become synonymous with a look. It's no longer a process of merging images.
He's right, because I could open up an image and I could apply Nik Color Effects Pro, and you're working with the On1, their new tonal contrast stuff.
Their new contrast stuff in Suite 8.
Ooh, it's going to be something.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be the new thing, isn't it?
It is, dude. It's I'm able to do.
He was telling me before the show. He's like, dude, this is going to be the new thing.
It's cool.
All right. So anyway, So to answer that
HDR is
question,
a
I
look.
agree with Matt. It's
Okay.
a look. It's a thing. All right. Next, what else looks bad? Number 4.
Photos of people.
People do not look good in HDR.
This is a great example too.
Oh, poor thing. She's so sweet, and
Because all this looks okay.
yeah, that looks great.
That we'll talk about that.
Her
in a little
hair's
while.
okay.
Yeah.
Why did you have to do it to her face?
It makes people look bruised and
Yeah, it brings out every little blemish and thing, and it's just bruised is a good way to make it. It makes people look bruised. If you had taken this shot and just painted back in the original on her face, so take the original exposure, hold the shift key and drag it on top of your HDR, and if it doesn't align perfectly, select both layers and go under the edit menu in Photoshop and choose auto align layers, and then it will perfectly align. Then just paint in right over the face. This would have been an entirely different image, because you're right. HDR, you just can't apply it to the whole image a lot of times. It looks bad on certain skies. It looks bad on people. People, don't HDR people. Now, you might get away with it. You know where you can get away with HDR? On that old guy with the craggly face. You're in like Burma, right? And you see the guy there, the old guy, like 45 years old.
or athletes like
Kidding.
45 years old.
No, like 85 years
Yeah.
old, you know.
Or athletes.
Right,
Athletes, it works
the
good
athletes,
too.
if you lit it right, if you lit it with edge lighting and stuff, it can look really, really good.
And if it's that type of portrait.
Right, if it's the right
If it's
type.
meant to be like a cover, like a nice portrait of an athlete, you don't want to go make them look like they're bruised.
Right. Okay, so that's another one. Number 5. This one's really bad.
Number 5, shallow depth of field looks really, really bad.
Yeah, you want to be shooting at like f11 if you're going to be doing HDR, because it really does. That shallow background that looks so wonderful in real photos looks so fakey and awful in HDR. Can we see example there?
Yeah. So I think this is a good example, because we critiqued this photo last time, and I think if you had to shoot at high noon, I think all this looks kind of cool. All the detail on the firefighters looks cool, but now you have this shallow depth of field
Look
in
at
the
the
background,
grass. It looks funky.
and it just looks weird.
It just looks weird.
So-
Weird. Okay, we have a couple more, but we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to go over number 6 and number 7, trying to help you make better HDR photos so people won't hate your stuff, and then we won't
And
hate
then
it when you send it in for critiques.
RC did a blog post. We'll go through his blog post and show you some things. He's got some good insights on there on how to make a good
I'll
HDR
also look at some
photo.
of our RC's HDRs in general, especially now since he's watching. We want to make sure we show nice photos of HDR. So we'll be right back. Don't go away. Stick around. You really can't.
Hello, I'm Bill Fortney, and welcome to Olympic National Park. Olympic National Park is made up of a number of different landforms, all the way from a beautiful seacoast the high mountains, glacial snow, the wonderful whole rainforest and the rest of these old growth forests, and it all leads to great nature photography. And we're here to learn landscape photography and the techniques of landscape photography, but we're going to do a lot more than just landscape. We're going to do close-ups, we're going to do water photography, we're going to do high altitude sunrise and sunset work. We have a lot to do. So please come check out my class in Olympic National Park only on kelbytraining.com.
Hey, we're back. Scott Kelby here with Matt Kliskowski, and we're talking about how not to hate HDR. We're going over the 7 things that make HDR bad, and we did the first 5. We're now on to number 6. What's another thing that makes HDR bad, Matt?
Moving water. So we've got a couple of examples. Like, I mean, this isn't
That's not so
necessarily
bad.
moving too much, but I don't think it looks great down there.
But I kind of like that shot.
That's
though.
not moving too
Except
much.
for the glows.
Where's the moving water photo?
Do you have a moving
I
water
not
photo?
have one?
We don't really have one, do we?
Like a waterfall.
Yeah.
A waterfall doesn't look good. Fountains can look good. Like a full-on waterfall or beaches where you see, like, if this were a longer exposure here and that water was rushing in, that's where the water tends to get too grungy. But water fountains, and when it's kind of just a nice light water, it doesn't look too bad.
You know what it is, though? I think that people are saying my photo's going to be 100% HDR or it's going to be 100%
Exactly.
natural. Why can't you use the good parts of HDR and put the natural water in? Just mask it right back in. Mask the natural water right back in. By the way, this has nothing to do with anything. Can we go back to Matt's screen for a second? Dude, you have the smallest dock icons I've ever seen. Look at the size of those dock. How do you know what's what?
I made them small for the show, actually.
Oh, okay. I'm like, man, that.
I guess I could have just hit them, but
Yeah,
I made
wow.
I just
Wow,
made it
I
small
was
for
like-
I made it small so we could see the thing.
Okay, hey, Nicole.
I can't see him either.
Hey, Nicole, who was our guest
Can-
here on
can
the
I-
show last week.
Can I just,
Comment.
hey, Nicole, can I just mention something that just has nothing to do with anything?
Please.
Do you know, because you commented on how small it was, do you know within the month of me turning 40, my close eyesight started to go?
Did it?
For the first time in my life. My
when they
far
got you.
distance has been horrible. For the first time in my life, I swear it was 3 weeks before I turned 40. And I'm looking at something and I'm like, I'm in front of my camera last week and I'm looking at it close and I had to back up.
Really?
Yes, within a month of turning 40. Anyway,
Man, this
has
getting
nothing to
older
do-
thing. You know what? I
Hi, Nicolesy.
always make that joke. I go, man, this getting older thing is a drag. And my wife always looks at me and goes, it beats the alternative. True. All right, so moving water, moving anything, moving people, it makes it sticky for HDRs. The last one, and I think this is a huge one, is you chose the wrong subject for HDR. When people say, I don't like HDR because you'll take a crappy photo and it makes any photo look great, that is absolutely wrong. There are certain subjects that make for a great HDR. There are certain subjects, things that are supposed to look grungy, like a fire truck, or, for example, RC just went to do a class on HDR, and he flew to Gary, Indiana, home of the Jacksons. Little trivia there. Didn't expect to get that today, did you? Went to Gary, Indiana, and went to these rundown areas where he could get some really cool, abandoned factories and really cool stuff. And he could have gone to Detroit, of course. But anyway, went to these abandoned places. That stuff makes wonderful HDR.
Look up on the screen. Or you look at the screen.
Okay,
So
yeah.
this is from RC's blog. So that's the kind of stuff
Yeah,
that you're
this
talking
kind of stuff.
about.
You know what doesn't make a pretty girl, cute little girl in the
Yeah.
window of a train? The train's good. The people are bad, and a lot of people we see will choose topics that just don't work.
Yeah, and then if you pull up what we have on screen here, this stuff would actually probably look okay HDR. But
statue?
one of the things that when you have a beautiful sky, when you have like great light, typically that's not going to be the best HDR. Like right at sunrise, right at sunset, when everything's great, the light's
Right.
perfect, the clouds are perfect, all that stuff's great.
Don't shoot HDR then.
That's probably not the best time for it. All right, you want to take a look at RC's thing?
Yeah. Hey, before we run over that, I just want to recap. Somebody asked here if we could recap the seven things. And here we go. Here are the 7 things. Oh,
We lost them.
Yeah, now we're moving there. So the 7 things are, these are the 7 things to avoid to have better HDRs. Avoid black clouds. Avoid white glows around things. Make sure you're not oversaturating your colors. You really should not have a reason with an HDR photo to touch the saturation or vibrance slider. Avoid photos of people. And if you want to do an HDR photo of people, bring the people back in. Bring the natural people back in, or 70% of them. Set your brush to like 30%. Paint a little bit of mint or something. Avoid applying HDR to shallow depth of field photos. It looks the shallowness looks bad when it's HDR'd. Moving water, or actually moving anything, doesn't look really good. And lastly, make sure that you choose a subject that is appropriate. Give me some more subjects that are appropriate for HDR, Matt.
I think insides of restaurants.
Insides a restaurant, architectural stuff.
Yeah, perfect.
Inside and outside.
Yeah.
Architectural stuff looks terrific. So it doesn't just have to be because a beautiful new building, like you see shots of Dubai that have been HDR'd that are just stunning. And so the Elia Lacardio, is that better?
Yes.
All right. Elia Lacardio has a wonderful HDR that he did of a subway stop in Stockholm, Sweden, that is just absolutely lights out.
I've seen it.
It is fantastic. And that's new. And so there's a lot of things, a lot of travel photos can look really interesting, temples and different things like that. So it can be old, it can be new, but you know what it is? I think the real big key is either texture or metallic. If your subject has a lot of texture, HDR is going to bring it out.
Wooden cabins
Things that are
and
wooden
old
look
wooden
great.
things.
Yep.
Yeah.
But remember that you're not obliged to do the whole photo in HDR. Sit back and look at it and say, would it look better if the water was real? Would it look better if the sky was real? So many images that we see in critique have that exact same problem. All right, can we look at some RC stuff?
Yeah.
Just go to regular RC's, not
All right.
just blog, but I want to look at his portfolio because RC wrote the book on it. He wrote a book called the HDR book. I mean, I think it's the best book ever written on the topic by a long shot.
So you want to? Can we go through his tips really quick?
Yeah,
or you
go
want
ahead.
us to look at his
Let's go
portfolio?
through his tips. Oh,
All right. So he's at location. When you're out there and you're looking for a really cool HDR, so it's one of the features that stand out. Usually where they're taken from. So yeah, which is true. He says in any type of photography, but it is. It's all about a great location. Inside, and he's kind of like you said. He wrote the book on it, but interiors of restaurants. Like anytime.
Hey, can we send them to RC's blog so they can just read?
Yeah, just go to aboutrc.com/blog.
Yeah, aboutrc.com/blog. Hey, looks like we're running out of time here. So will you get up some of RC's just portfolio shots? And at the same time, I'm going to tell you, we have a Peach Pit deal of the week. So for our readers, Peach Pit Press, people that publish our awesome books, have a deal for our readers. And it is, there is a limited time offer. It's Peter Reed Miller's book called Peter Reed Miller on Sports Photography. This book is insane. And I just met somebody on the sidelines the other day that was talking about this book, and they had read it, and they absolutely loved it. And I think maybe it was Rob Foldy. Anyway, but you get the ebook version of this for 40% off. All you have to do is go to peachpit.com/KelbyTV, and there's a little discount code. Your discount code is KelbyTV. You get 40% off, and I think that's good for like a week or so, not a whole bunch. Hey, it's contest time. We're going to go to RC's thing, but I want to tell you where to go to for the contests. For the contests, go to KelbyTV.com/contest. You will select the show you're watching. By the way, you're watching The Grid. You'll put in your name. You'll put in your email. You don't have to put in your website. You're going to get down to the comments. Tell us which prize you want to win. And again, our prizes are a 1-year subscription to Kelby Training. That's $200, full year. We have Lisa Snyder's Photoshop CC. It is the missing manual, and it's giant. It's many pages. It's all in here. Lisa did a terrific job on it. The Design Aglow.
Aglow.
The Posing Guide for Portrait Photography, my digital photography book, Volume 2, and a book that I was surprised I wrote myself, the Jesus book. If you want to write that, you can write just the Jesus book. And there's only, there are only 14 copies left on Amazon. This is the actual real hard print book. But anyway, I hope you'll check it out. And Juan says my microphone has moved away. Move your mic back, Brad writes on the screen. Okay, let's see some great stuff from RC.
All right, let's go back here. So cityscapes.
Oh, yeah,
Cityscapes rock as HDR. They are HDR perfect.
That's a resort. Yeah,
a resort.
That's at across from Grand Central Station in New York City. Look at that. Hey, can we see some of his stuff from that? He went to a ghost town.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Look at that nice shot. That's Lincoln
This
right
is
there.
this is a perfect example for HDR.
Yeah, that's a good place.
Here's the
look
Bodhi.
at that, and look at the difference in the light from dark to light. You know, look, I love that shot.
the
That's one of my
texture.
very favorites. He really does HDR really, really well. And I try to mimic his HDR sometimes. I'll even say if I post an HDR, I go, this is done RC style. Because he definitely has a style and a soft glow to it. Hey, some people are asking, what's the URL for tonight's webcast, A Walk in Rome? Tonight's webcast is at kelbytv.com/onair, ONAIR, and I hope you'll join us for that tonight. That's RC's hotel room.
Moody, dimly lit things like that, where you
Yeah.
can see just a little bit of
And little
texture.
landscapes, right? But you know what I didn't notice in any RC shots? Look at that. In none of RC shots do you see white glows. That
Yeah,
was,
see, look, there's no glow.
and the sky looks realistic.
And if he just took it straight out of the software, if he just took this one straight out of the software, probably without post-processing it further, you would have seen glows all around here.
Yep.
Yeah, see all the texture. So
Yeah, the texture
fi-
brings out all that stuff.
aboutrc.com, and you can go check him out and take a look at his portfolio there.
All right. Hey, so hope you'll join us tonight at 7 p.m. for A Walk in Rome. Again, the website is kelbytv.com/onair. We've got giveaways. We're giving away B&H gift cards tonight. We're giving away the full, Rogue Flash Bender set.
Cool.
Right? A whole set of that. Isn't that right, Brad? We got a whole bunch of Rogue Flash Benders. And we're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. We'll have some photo tips for you, some Photoshop tips for you, just things that you'll run into doing travel photography and stuff. And Matt will be with me.
We'll have a good time.
Oh, can we show that shot? I love the shot of RC's. Can you go back to that one? One of my very favorite shots of his right here.
Yeah.
Central Park he's got a great story that goes with these. He's got a great story with all these things. Anyway, hey, thank you guys. I want to thank, uh-oh. He's in Prague. Of course he is. And
Hi,
there
the
he
grid
is.
folks.
Hi, grid folks. There's a picture from Prague, and it's the old beer hall. No, I've never been to Prague. I don't know what that is. But anyway,
That's a good.
see, yeah,
That's a good HDR.
that's one of the ones that if it came into the grid, we're like, wow, this guy's good.
Cool.
All right, so hey, I want to thank B&H Photo, one of our sponsors. They are incredibly awesome, the world's greatest camera store. Go to bhphoto.com, and that's where we get all our stuff, because they're awesome. We love them. Matt, where can people go learn more about you?
Best place, just go to my personal blog website, mattkay.com, and it's got links to everything on there.
Yep, you can go by my blog, scottkelby.com. I got links to everything there as well. And where do you go find about Brad, the guy off camera, the mysterious guy that we keep calling Brad? Go to bmoore, M-O-O-R-E, visuals.com. He is a concert photographer and a love machine, and you will enjoy looking at his books. And he does a lot of nude selfies, which are interesting. So go check those out.
There's a lot of them on there,
It's
dude.
getting old.
Just-
bmoorevisuals.com. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching, and thanks to all of our sponsors. We'll see you guys tonight at 7 o'clock at, and that's, of course, if you're watching the show live. If you're watching this on Friday or something, it's not tonight.
Sometime.
Take care, everybody. See you tonight.
This week's episode of The Grid is sponsored by Impics. Shoot today, upload tonight, we ship tomorrow. On One Software, focused on photography. Peach Pit Press, publishers of technology books, ebooks, and videos for creative people. Epson, exceed your vision. Expo Imaging, Rogue Flash Benders for speedlight enthusiasts. Intel, the power you need for hardcore creatives. Squarespace, everything you need to create an exceptional photography website. And B&H Photo, the professional source.